Jackson, and you're welcome. Good morning, everyone. You guys know me. I think Nikolai remembers me. Yeah, so I work at Peace Hospital, and I specifically work in our geriatric inpatient program. So I thought I'd start kind of talking about the services that we offer there, and then if you all have any questions as we go along, feel free to jump in. I'm very casual. So most people that live in Louisville know of Peace Hospital. The main hospital is located at 2020 Newburgh. We're right across from Bellarmine University. And at that facility, we're a psychiatric hospital. So we work with kids as young as 5, and then we work with adults all the way up to 90 plus, just kind of depending on what's going on. So the geriatric unit is actually located at Fraser Rehab. And one of the reasons that we chose that location is because if something were to happen to one of our patients, like if they had any kind of medical issue, we could literally walk them across the street to Jewish hospitals. So everything's nice and close, so we purposely chose that location. And also within Fraser Rehab, if one of our patients needs a speech assessment, OT, or physical therapy, we can do that all in-house. Exactly, so that when our patients leave, we can start that process for them, and then they continue when they go home. Our unit is very, very unique in that our clients and patients are age 55 and up. And so because of that, our programming, I feel like, is very unique. So we do things like process group that most people think of when they think of a hospital. But we also do things like pet therapy or art therapy or rec therapy. And the reason why we are purposeful in that is because we're well aware that, a lot of our patients might have neurocognitive issues. So they might have challenges talking just like I am and doing a process group that might be a little much. So when we have things like pet therapy and rec therapy, we're able to get our patients out, everybody's interacting with one another, and we're able to form that sense of community, just like you all have here. That's our biggest goal, because most of our patients come to us for various reasons, but a lot of it, a lot of their symptoms get worse because of social isolation. And we work so hard in making sure that we're interacting with our patients are interacting with each other, they're not isolated, in their room alone and things like that. Our unit is just crisis stabilization. So most folks come to us for about, 2 weeks or so. Of course, there's always those that stay with us longer. And what our goal is to figure out medically, is there anything going on with them? We have a geriatrician on our unit, which is huge, along with a psychiatrist, along with a pharmacist, along with therapists and social workers that you typically think of. And I'm really proud to say that because we really try to think about what's going on with each individual person that we're working with. We're not about, let's just give people medication. Medication is needed sometimes, but because we have a medical doctor along with our psychiatrist, the medical doctor can jump in and say, hey, we might want to look at that medicine. It might affect their liver functioning. So we're really looking at things so that when our patients go home, the treatment that we started is able to be continued. And so we're really proud of doing that. And as you all know, we're all about family involvement. So if our patients come to us, our family members, they're invited to come to treatment team so you can hear what's going on with your loved one. You can participate in sessions with your loved one, family therapy. We also have visitation. So I wanted to kind of talk about that, our program in particular, because you all might know of somebody in your own community, your church, a friend, family member that you might notice that's age 55 and up that might be struggling to the point where, you might be a little concerned, as in, can they be home alone for extended periods of time? Or you're noticing some behaviors that you feel like are a little erratic, that are just not them, not their personality. I'll give you my card too before I leave. You guys are more than welcome just to call me, I don't mind, and say, hey, I've been noticing this. Is this something that maybe you all can help with? And also on our unit, we have a chaplain that offers a group for everybody. He does it very non-denominational. And then also if you need individual counseling with him, he can also provide that. And at our main hospital, we work with folks that have substance abuse issues. We work with kids. We have an entire intellectual disability unit where we work with kids that have autism. And all of those staff are trained in something called ABA therapy. And so the therapy techniques that they use are very, very person-centered. they're working with that individual one-on-one to make sure that they can function cognitively and, you know, process things. So we really take a one-on-one approach with our hospital. You look like you're about to ask a question.
I'm adjusting.
Yes.
About how long does a person stay at your facility?
Sure. So on our unit, the geriatric unit, it's about 2 weeks.
Okay.
There's always some give and take. And the reason why sometimes it's a little bit longer is because somebody might come into us, like for example, we sometimes get people where the spouse, I'm just gonna look at you guys because obviously you are married, the spouse might get concerned because the husband is wandering off. And when you go to him, he might be a little distracted, confused, and almost combative. He's not the person that you know, right? His personality has changed. And then you might feel like, gosh, it might be unsafe for him to be at home by himself. Sometimes we get patients like that. Sometimes we get patients from, you know, senior care facilities where they've been at a nursing home for a long time, but then the nursing home staff are noticing, gosh, they're all of a sudden becoming very, very aggressive, which is not them, verbally or physically, or they're noticing things like they're falling all the time. No matter, pool noodles or not, they're still having issues, right? And so sometimes people come to us just for a simple med change. And then we realize, oh, these meds are counter-interacting with one another. That's why they're falling, right? And so those are the things we're able to help with. And then our goal always is to have people age in place, meaning go home, go back to their facility. We don't want, we love our patients, don't get me wrong, but we don't want our patients for a month, 2 months, 3 months. We want to just stabilize, figure out what they need, and so that they can age in place. Yeah. And, most of the people that we get, I love the fact, so Nikolai was a patient on our unit. It's so nice to see him. I'm like, oh my God, familiar face, and it's nice that, he's a perfect example of somebody that came to us for assistance and he's still getting assistance, right? And that's just a beautiful thing that it didn't just stop with us. You can clearly see he didn't just come here because he happened to know. I didn't text him or anything to come, right? Like, it's great to see that.
No idea.
Yeah.
We were just walking.
Exactly. So it's nice when you see that folks are getting resources out in the community. This is exactly what we want. We want to know that our patients are going home and they're figuring out resources. So my new friend here, just asked how to qualify. That's a great question. So the way that we assess our patients is a couple of ways. You can go to the main campus at 2020 Newburgh and just walk in with your loved one. Like I could walk in if needed with my mother or my father and say, hey, I'm concerned, this is what's going on. Or you can come to any ER and then get assessed that way. So as long as the ER is affiliated with UofL Hospital, but the smartest thing to do would just be to call this number here, and I'll give you my card too. And you can just call and say, hey, I'm in this situation. It doesn't even have to be for yourself. And speaking of community.
What is that number?
Oh, sorry. The number would be 502-451-3333. And we're located at 2020 Newburgh Avenue, right across from Bellarmine. And then I'll give you my number too. I'm Sameera Jackson. I'm at 502-644-5232. Don't worry, I'll give you a card. But kind of speaking of resources, another thing, what we try to do too is, again, we realize that our patients are not going to always be with us, whether they're kids, adults. So we have a lot of programming in the community, such as for children, we have something called Peace for Parents. And what that is it's basically kind of like this. It's like a seminar, if you will. And we have a topic. So usually what happens is one of our clinicians from our hospital will talk about things like, how to address ADHD in the summer. Because we all know summer's starting, there's very little structure at most homes, right? Kids are playing and swimming, and then all of a sudden, you have certain behaviors, right? So we do cover different topics like that. We've done things like looking for suicide risk in children, things like that. So that's geared towards parents and also anybody kind of in the school community. Working in the geriatric unit, and I don't have them on me, but maybe I can get everybody's phone number if that's okay, and I can always text it to you. We are actually doing something called Conversations with Caregivers. And typically our focus is dementia, but any of you all can easily come. And essentially what we do is we're talking about how to deal with things like, my loved one now has this diagnosis. How do I deal with that, right? The emotions of, oh my gosh, how am I gonna manage our household? How am I gonna manage my spouse? Things like that. We did one once where we did a whole dementia simulation. So we basically had every single person in the audience We did things like we put pebbles in your shoes to kind of mimic, neuropathy, like what that feels like. We did things where we took glasses and we put a little bit of like Vaseline in it and made you wear them, and then we would say things like, okay, I need you to like do such and such. Well, you can't see, and it's just to mimic what it really feels like or can feel like for the loved one that you're caring with. We're all human. We try not to change our tone, but we're human. We get, irritated at times. It's natural. But it was a great way of showing people in the audience just a snippet of what it might feel like if you're having all of these challenges, whether it's your vision, walking, your gait, all of those things. And so we're hosting one actually at the end of this month on June 27th at the Charlestown, New Albany facility. It's a senior home. And we're partnering with them to offer a training. And this one's all about accepting dementia, like how to accept the diagnosis that your loved one has, how to like repivot your life, so to speak, and deal with things like that. We also have a loss and grief group that's free to the entire community. The session that's going on right now has already started, but I can get Eric and Erica the information so that you all can know about it for the next time, and it's free. And loss and grief is not what you think of, right? It's not just death. Loss and grief can be loss and grief of what your family life is like now, right? Because somebody in your family has changed in different ways. We see it all the time on the unit where, I feel like it's whether it's Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, any kind of neurocognitive issue, you're dealing with loss and grief the whole time. Because at times you're like, dang, I can't do what I used to do. I'm no longer able to do this particular thing, so you're losing part of that. So we're offering this group also, so this could be a great resource for you all in the community. Do you have a question?
No.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were about to say
I'm
something.
still just digesting.
No worries. I talk fast. I apologize.
No, the digesting the whole.
Sure. And then,
past half year.
of course.
Yeah.
And then we also have outpatient services. So this would be for adults that, they could just use a little bit more support besides just going to a therapist. So that is offered from 9 to 12, Monday through Friday. If that's something that somebody here would be interested in, I can give you more information. And essentially we have a group that's just for the age group of 55 and up. So that programming is very different than what you would get in a group with like a 20-year-old. Because the life circumstances of people in that group are very different. And we purposely do that so that, people within the same like mind and same mindset are in a room together, being able to process and help one another. Because you all know how important community support is. Because sometimes I'm sure it feels very isolating and that you have a certain thing going on with you and not everybody understands that. Not everybody understands why, why is he talking to me this way? Or why are things different? And maybe that person can't even explain it either, right? So things like this are so helpful, and then we offer services like that too. Do you have any questions just overall, or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Excuse me. On the one we were talking about, the 9 to 12 or whatever.
Yes.
During the week. What does that cover? I mean,
So,
what do you do?
So in that group, you're doing things like kind of processing what's going on with you, whether it's depression that you're going through, anxiety, just kind of living day to day, just struggling through life stressors, that you have going on. And everybody's different. So some people, they might go for a month. Some people might go for 2 or 3 weeks. It just depends on, what you feel like you're getting out of it. So the way that the day typically starts is everybody walks into the room and our therapist starts with meditation just to kind of center everybody so they don't talk as fast as I do. Everybody just kind of settles in, relaxes for the day. About 15 minutes he does just that. And then he goes into, okay, so how are everybody feeling? What's going on? And then it just kind of ping pongs back and forth, essentially. So yes, we have things that we're going over, but we're doing it in a way that's very, welcoming and just more of a conversation instead of, here's a worksheet, that kind of thing. So you'll be covering a lot of different things, whether it's dealing with the loss of something or just dealing with your new life challenges, how to go through that. And there might be somebody else in the room that's experiencing the same thing and bouncing out. Even the example of the pool noodle that we were joking about at the very beginning. That might seem really silly, but even that small thing, Yeah, you're smiling, right?
Yeah,
I know that. Yeah, exactly. You're like, dang it, now you tell me. But you know, even little things like that can make a difference because you're in an environment where people understand, people get it. Whereas sometimes when you're out, people don't get it to the way that other people do. So that alone is just great about our group process that we have.
Or somebody could be dealing with something that you're not dealing with currently, but you had dealt with in the past minute, and then it respurs your memory, and it's like,
Exactly.
oh, you know what? And then it gets that discussion, like, oh, I can use that the next time if this arises again.
Exactly.
And
And
it's
what's
on a flashback. Yeah.
And we try to make things as convenient as possible in that you only have to get to the first appointment by yourself, and then we provide transportation within Jefferson County. So we want our patients to be able to come to things. We don't want to have transportation to be a barrier in terms of getting treatment. So we provide that transportation also.
So do you sign up to come to these things or?
You can call the main number and get an assessment. I can give you that before I leave today for that center. And then our outpatient center is located right behind St. Mary and Elizabeth's Hospital. So it used to be an old like med-surg office. So it's really big and spacious. People kind of come and go in and out of the rooms. So yeah, I'll definitely give you that information.
Churchman Avenue,
Yep.
just off Churchman Avenue, as I recall.
How do you work with the family to come and visit?
Oh yes, so we have visitation on, I can't remember the times right now, on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So we have different times for visitation. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Yeah, we just started that. Yeah. We started that about 2 months ago. I was like, yeah. So we just started it. Well, we had to wait a little bit because of COVID and this and that.
Sure.
Yeah. So yes, we do have visitation, and I'm very excited about that because that does obviously make a difference. So we offer that 2 times a week. So yeah. So if by chance you're there or a loved one or a friend of yours, you know, we'll make sure we let you all know when the visitation schedule is, that so that you guys can come in and you know, interact and catch up with your loved one.
Yeah, my father is 91 and he has Parkinson's also. And he's in an apartment in a senior facility.
Yes.
And he fell just recently, broke his femur. And so they're falling, and you know, he has to get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom and he falls.
Yeah.
And there's sort of round the clock care. How does company care services?
So what we do, that's a great question. That's definitely an issue that happens on our unit naturally, right? Because of age. And so what we do is when we know somebody is a high falls risk, we have them on kind of like a different protocol, if you will. What we do is we change our entire environment for them. So what I mean by that is we'll make sure that patient is right in front of the nurse's station. So, because we have 20 beds, I mean, we can only run so quick, right? We will, trust me, of course we will. But having somebody closer is and we have video cameras everywhere. So we can see, like, we really pay attention, especially at night, because it's dark and you're, you know, eyeball, you know, those kinds of things. And so to answer your question, we move people directly in front of our nurses station so we can literally see them. And then also we have bed alarms also. And then those that we know are high falls risk, we're always doing 15-minute checks, but we do little extra checks on purpose just to make sure and prevent that as much as possible. Because we have the same thing where somebody might be in a wheelchair and they're going to the restroom, it's dark, and then accidentally, you know, those kinds of things. Was your hand raised? Sorry.
Yes, my hand is raised at this point. Wow, it's beautiful. I'm sorry. I used to take ballet at this time on Saturday mornings. So, thank you for mentioning that Geropsych also has the bed alarm system. Because your goal at Geropsych is a little different from a plain old hospital.
Of course.
It's to support the mental and emotional well-being of people. So, how do we? I mean, no one wants a broken femur.
No.
But by confining a person too much to bed, that can take a dreadful mental emotional toll.
You brought
on
up
a person too.
You just reminded me of something I forgot to say.
How do we navigate this in the context, like
Of course.
geropsych where the emphasis is not just on the broken femurs.
Of
but
course.
on we don't want the soul breaking.
No, of course. And that's with our ongoing programming and therapy. But you just reminded me of something too that I forgot to say. We have a walking club on our unit. Now, our unit's not that big, but it's, a couple of laps. Trust me, I wish it was as expensive as this. But that's another good thing that I forgot to mention. We're always about trying to emulate our patients. A lot of patients just don't want to.
Right.
They come to
Which
us.
could be a symptom of the depression.
Yes, of course. You took the words right out of my mouth. Exactly. So that's helping in many ways, right? It's not also helping them with their depression because we're having a one-on-one. So it's like, hey, come on, Miss Erica, what's going on today? And that's literally how we do it.
Yeah.
So that person, that mental health tech, is literally walking up and down the aisle, so to speak, with our person, and just chit-chatting with our patient. They're forming that relationship. And also, we're helping them become ambulatory. We're helping them ambulate and help them see it's not that hard. What can we do to help you? We, of course, have guardrails and things like that in our walls for obvious reasons, but I hear that all the time when I'm on the unit because we're also coaching, like walk this way, try to step this way. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I totally forgot. And that's another thing that we do because we're looking at, just like she was saying, mentally, physically, everything, all components of somebody. So it's great that we do that all the time. And then if we need, we do have situations where we'll have a one-on-one with somebody. And then, what's beautiful is that one-on-one eventually dissipates because we're getting them to move around more. We're getting our patient to see it's not that bad. Here's how we can help you. And then eventually we can reduce that one-on-one. But if we need to, we're more than willing to do that to make sure that our patients are safe more than anything. And that goes back to meds too, because sometimes it could be a medication issue. And that's what's great about having,
Super exciting to
yes.
hear that the falls can be a medication.
Oh, definitely.
Have you heard that? Because,
It can definitely be a medication issue. And that's what's great about having not only our psychiatrist on hand, our gerontologist is there also. So they're constantly like, hey, we need to check this, we need to check that. Because sometimes we don't know. A lot of times patients come to us with a list, and a huge list of meds. And sometimes they co-interact. Nobody meant to, it wasn't intentional. People weren't communicating. It's that simple. So we're able to kind of take some of that stuff away and help with those situations as best we can. Yes, Mr. Hunter, right? I remember.
Do you have nurses that come here?
We do not. He asked if we have nurses that come to our home. But what we do is, if you're a patient of ours and that's a need that you have, we help set all of those things up for you. We set some of that up. So, for example, if you were a patient on our unit and that's a concern that you had, our case manager would help work with you on that. Based on your insurance getting, that's a great example. So he asked if we set up nurses to come to people's homes. Yes, we do. So just every case is different. We have some people that might have more of a medical need, and so they have a nurse come in. And then we have some individuals that we have, after we get to know them, a lot of what they need is just plain old socialization. Like, they don't have any major medical problems, but they have some, mental health issues, which is totally fine. And so some of our patients, we have to pivot in that. We're like shoring them up with a lot of things. Like when I'm out in the community, I go visit different senior centers. I visit different places like that just to see what it's like, so that when I can come back and I can say, oh yeah, Mr. Hunter, you're gonna love this place because I went there and Ms. Erica works there and these are the things that they do. Places like Rocksteady is another perfect example of different things in the community that can help so much, right? Because they're working on physical issues, plus they're working on community and having fun and all that. So that was a great question. Thank you for
and the
that.
embedded speech therapy with the little chants. It's not just
Yeah, we try to sneak it all in as best we can. A little of this, a little of that. But so my job is basically to go out into the community, let people know about our services. And I visit a lot of places, like I was saying. Like, I learned about my two friends here on accident, so to speak. And so that's how I got connected here with the Parkinson's Association. And so, like I was saying, a lot of what I do is just go out and see what's available. Sometimes it's something as simple as, somebody just going to the library even a couple times a month for, adult group, book clubs and things like that, just to get social. A lot of times our patients, they're so overwhelmed that it just takes somebody to sit down and talk to them and figure out what they like and just figure out ways to do it. It could be something, we had a woman not too long ago that loved art. And a simple solution was we found an art class at the library. You know, but it was just her taking some time to get those words out, somebody taking some time to listen to her and just figure out what's going to work based on where she lives. So sometimes, you know, life overwhelms everybody, myself included, right? And so being able to be in a situation where your medical needs are being addressed, your psychiatric needs, and more importantly, what's going to work with you ongoing when you leave us and you go out into the community. So we tailor our approach as best we can to fit what each individual person needs, because everybody's different. Yes, we do. We have patients that, you know, like I like to say, just have moments. It's life. You know, a lot of times we sadly see patterns in that, like around the holidays, we see a lot of patients return, you know, they're home by themselves. And for whatever reason, they might not have a lot of family involvement, things like that. We've had a gentleman that comes around the time of his anniversary with his wife. And at this point, we know that they'll be around those kinds of things. So there are people that come back, and sometimes it's situational. Certain things in their life trigger, and then they do come back to us. But, you know, we're here to help, and, you know, and so, we do have people that do come back.
That sounds very good.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry?
I'm happy to see you, Miss Williams.
Oh, happy to see you too. Oh, you're so sweet.
Look at the twinkle in her eye and the smile.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell our doctor. I don't want to say his name on camera, but yeah, I'll tell him when I see him. Yeah, I'll tell him when I see him. Yeah. Oh, one thing before I forget, sorry. I also wanted to give you guys this. This is just a very general thing. So I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's, through Louisville Metro Government, there's the Office of Aging and Disabled Citizens. You scan this barcode, I mean, I'm not joking. Their resource guide is almost 200 pages. I love y'all, but I couldn't print all that out. But you can just scan this and you can literally go to category. You know, it could be things like you might need assistance with getting a ramp built on your house. Or, you know, it could be various things. And so I'm just going to pass this out to you guys. If there's a resource that you might need, whether it's you or just a family member or a friend. Yeah, that's a great idea.
And then what we can do is we can
Oh, okay.
scan this as well and then put this up on our website or send it out in the newsletter.
I was going to joke and be like, the dollar store's right down the street. Do you guys have any further questions? I hope I kind of explained kind of what we do. And then again, at the main hospital, we're working with kiddos all the way up to adults. Like right now, we have an ongoing program. I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with it. It's called Crossroads. So it's for kiddos, you know, school age that a lot of times we get referrals from school because kids are just having behavioral issues. It could be a myriad of things. But we also have that during the summer also. So, you know, we're always trying to figure out ways to help our youth, help our adults. We have substance abuse programming also. And then the outpatient center I talked about, we also have programming there where we work with folks that have dual diagnoses and just, you know, overall mental health issues.
The youth program is great over there. Whenever I was a PE teacher at Maryhurst, all girls school, they're all in state custody for one reason or another. Some would go to Peace Hospital and then come back, or some would already just go there and then come to Maryhurst from there, and it was always very, very beneficial for them because they got, you know, a little bit more intensive therapy and help that they needed, and then would come to, or I've seen a lot of them that left Maryhurst, went there, and then come back, and you can tell a big difference. So you can definitely tell it worked.
That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. And I'll be honest, I'm a little biased to our unit because we have 20 vet patients, and so we're able to do that one-on-one. And like I was saying, if there's a situation where somebody needs extra attention, we do our best to make sure that person has literally a one-on-one with them at all times. And then once those, whether it's the behaviors that we're doing that for, or the physical issues, once that dissipates, then we can, you know, move that one-on-one person to maybe another patient on the unit that might need that service. And then also too, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna pass out my business cards. You can tell I'm not shy. You can call me about anything. Like if you think, hey, is this even a question? I don't mind at all to give you another resource or maybe hook you guys up with somebody that might be able to help you. You know, I might not always know the answer, but I'm sure I can figure out a way to get you that answer. So if you ever need something, just call me.
Awesome.
Good.
All right, well, thank you
Well,
all.
thank you so much.
Yeah.